and Trailhead and Salesforce into practical life. And looking forward to learning a lot today.
Yeah, nice having you.
Cool. Thank you, Aaron. Angela, do you want to go next?
Hi, I'm Angela Bailey. I'm in Portland, Oregon. I started in Salesforce in August, got my admin cert in November, and I'm currently working on my business analyst cert, taking that later next week. Not this week yet, taking that next week. So looking for all the learning. And I've been mostly involved with Clicked, which is where I've been doing a lot of my community learning stuff. So yeah, excited to get more involved with the Trailblazer community.
Well, all the best for your exam next week.
Thank you.
Do you want to go next? That's fine. You can
Camera is not working.
That's fine. It's okay.
Hello everyone. My name is Akhila. I've been attending this user groups like a couple of times now, and very helpful. And I'm also pretty new to Salesforce. It's been like 2 years. I'm studying from Trailhead and got my certification.
Right.
Same like Angela, I'm looking for BA cert next. So
Nice.
exploring different paths in Trailhead.
That's cool. All the best to you too.
Thank you.
Nice having you.
Thank you.
So hi everyone, this is Lakshmi here. So I recently did my certification in October, admin certification,
Nice.
and looking forward to more, like maybe developer side. I'm still figuring it out where to go. Yeah, looking forward for new opportunities in admin or other. Yeah,
Nice.
nice to meet you guys, everyone.
Well, we have Ian here, so he's going to give you a lot of
Hi.
opportunities today.
Thank you.
He's here to offer you.
That's great. Nice to meet you all.
Cool.
Awesome.
Cool. Do you have Elaine? Elaine, are you there? I'm not sure if she's there. Okay. I think she's not there. Maybe once she's on the... That's fine. Okay. So the thing is that, I'm going to hand it out to Ian first, and we're going to get some swags for our in-person attendees today. Sorry, Monica, you missed it. So, okay.
That's all right. Next time.
All yours now. So I will hand it over to you. Thank you.
Do you want to start the recording then?
I've already started.
Oh, you've already. Okay, perfect. Okay, in that case, good. All right. So, welcome. Thank you, everyone, for joining us on a Saturday morning. Shows real passion for Salesforce. So I've been around a while. I was just saying to Amal before we started, 3 numbers: 10, 20, 30. So 10 years as a consultant. I was a consultant for Accenture. Probably smallest project I ran was 5 people. Largest project was probably 500 people on the project team. 20 years in Salesforce. Actually, it's more than that. It's 21 now. We were one of the early customers in the UK when we got sold Salesforce by 2 guys with a laptop in a Regis office. That's how small Salesforce was. Spoke at the first London event, which was 120 people, 3 customers and Mark, and that was it. So it is a very different world now. It's way harder to learn Salesforce than it was when I started, when it was 5 objects and a development platform, but massively capable. And even though you're joining now, there's still a huge opportunity. So again, fantastic that you're involved in it. And the last number, 30, I've been around business analysis and driving change for probably 30 years. So I'm very happy standing on my soapbox, shouting for why BA is important. A lot of the certification was me and a number of other people really pushing Salesforce to get this certification out because it's so important. Everyone says, oh, Salesforce is easy, just build objects. No, it is easy to build objects, but actually you need to do the business analysis first. And whilst I'm not going to talk about business analysis today, I think if you have admin skills, but you combine them with business analysis, it makes you a way, way more valuable admin, particularly if you're working in smaller teams where it's just you or it's you and 2 or 3 people and you don't have a dedicated business analyst. You need to be that business analyst. You need to ask those questions why. You need to make sure that you're not just an order taker where someone rushes up and says, can you add me an object? The answer is, yeah, of course I could, but I'm not going to because that's technical debt unless I can understand why we should be doing it. And I'll give a shout out to some useful resources at the end of this session for places to go and look. So that's me. What I wanted to do and what Amal asked me to do today was just talk about impact analysis. So a number of us, you go into an org and it's very quickly can get quite complicated. And if you can't wade your way through setup, what happens and find things, what happens is someone asks you to create a new flow or a new field or a new page layout, and you've no idea what the existing ones do. So you just add another one and you add another one. And eventually, a year later, you've got 500 fields on the opportunity, and then you've run out of fields, or you've got so many flows that you daren't make a change because one will break. And that's just not the right way to operate. And the whole concept of having a metadata dictionary as a way of starting to track and control all of that will make your lives easier longer term. And I remember I was at a conference talking about this, and someone said, "Oh, well, our org's quite small. I don't think I'm ready for this." So no. Now is the time to start, because it's like, otherwise you're a year on and your org is so complex that you don't know where to start. So if you can get some of these disciplines in place, and I'm going to show you a product we built. You don't have to buy the product, but you need to understand the principles. So even if you're not using our product, you need to be thinking about how you manage your orgs in this way, because this is actually the way forward. It's the way that Salesforce recommends you should be doing things. They talk about building a metadata dictionary to start to track things. So what I'm going to show you is probably sort of the upper end of what's possible. At some point, as I start going through things, your head will explode, and that's acceptable. But this has been recorded, so you can go back and go, okay, let me understand what we've been showing. So why don't I share a screen? Do that. Great. You can't access your screen. Restart your browser and get help here. Why can't I share my screen? Let me just. Do you want to just pause the recording, Amal, rather than?
Oh, I'm so sorry. Let me just put I need to give presenter rights, actually. Just give me a second. Are you able to present now, Ian? Hello, Ian, are you there?
It says I need to restart it. Let me just check. Okay, sorry.
No problem.
Talk about.
So yeah, I would like to encourage anyone to share their LinkedIn profile or other things if you have, so we can connect with each other. Anyone, just feel free to connect with me all the time. I am always happy to connect with fellow Salesforce professionals. So.
Angela, did you say that you were doing a clicked sprint at the moment? Are you doing the BA one right now?
I'm doing the Deloitte. So I did the admin and analyst one in November, December, and now I'm actually doing the Deloitte Quest,
cool.
Which is a little bit smaller, and it's a 5-week one.
Oh, gotcha. I'm doing my first one right now, and I'm kind of, getting my.
Are you doing a 3-week?
I think it's a 3-week one. Yeah, it's the BA one. Yeah.
Yeah. Doing Clicked has been, I feel like has helped me prepare. I feel so much more prepared to take the test from doing those real life things and working with the team.
Yeah, getting that
really awesome
application for sure. All right, sorry.
Yeah, exactly. That's how I learn.
Same.
Can you tell us a little bit about what Clicked is and what they are about?
Yeah, so it is, yes, clicked.com is where you can find them and find a little bit about them. And they do learning experiences that are real life. So they'll do sprints where you have a scenario. So for my first one, it was admin and analyst. I feel like I'm echoing a little bit, but It was a 3-week sprint, and we were building a hypothetical, building an org for doing the analysis and building the org for Slack to have a B2B side. They hypothetically did not in this scenario. And so going from they kind of broke that one up where like one group did the original interviews with stakeholders, and then the next group built personas all the way through doing a minimum viable product. And you get to present each of your deliverables. So you present like twice a week, all of your deliverables along the way, and get feedback from coaches. So the one I'm doing right now, we're working with Deloitte coaches who run teams, and then we're getting feedback from them. So, but Vanessa Grant is very active with Clicked. She's a coach often. There's a couple of people from Slalom, Mallory and Tony. I'm trying to think of who else I've worked with as coaches, but it's been invaluable. It's very awesome.
It's a great learning experience for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, sounds very hardcore. All Salesforce all the time.
It's a good experience.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I've been part of this group called Talent Stacker, and it's like a guided program.
I'm in Talent Stacker also.
Oh yeah, nice.
Yeah, I don't know if everybody else knows what it is, but
yes, so it's a career development program, and the end goal is that they help you. It prepares you to get a job in the Salesforce ecosystem. So I'm still at sort of at the beginning because I need to get my certification to progress. So that's what I'm focusing on now. But I'm hoping to take it this month. I was going to take it earlier, but I got the COVID wrench in my life, so I had to reschedule. But
so here it is. Here is finally Ian.
My apologies. Sorry about that. It was Bevy, which is the application which Salesforce uses for running Trailblazer groups fighting Zoom. So I've managed to get them to talk nicely to each other. So that's fine.
That's totally fine. You're good.
Okay, all right. So, right, where were we? So, we're just talking about business impact analysis and the importance of actually being able to make changes faster in your org on the basis of some decent data, rather than making a change, then crossing your fingers and hoping that nothing breaks, which is what happens in many orgs. And the issue is, I think it's very hard to make a change when you only have got a small view about where something is. You need to have a good view of this field if I'm about to make a change, or this pick list value if I'm about to make a change. Where is it used in flows? Where is it used in page layouts? Where is it used in process builder workflows? And unless you have a good view about that information, you're likely to break things, which obviously isn't good for you. It isn't good for end users. It certainly doesn't do your stress levels any good at all. And as the systems that you're looking after become more important, more strategic, then it kills the agility if you don't have a good view about the implications of making changes. And I'm sure if you've been around the ecosystem, people talk about documentation. You need to write down not what you've done, but why you've done it. I can probably work out what you've done. You've created a process builder workflow, but why? Why have I done that? Because when you come back 6 months later, 6 days later, that's your gift to your future self. You come back and go, oh, that's why I did that. I don't know if you're like me, but I can't even remember what I had for lunch yesterday, let alone what I built, why I built a process builder workflow in a certain way, or why we added that page layout, or why that record type exists. So, the next thing is that we talked a little bit about business analysis. This happens to be me sailing. I used to race competitively, and we used to say the faster we go, the further we go in the wrong direction. So it's very easy to create an app, but you need to understand if it's the right thing you should be building. I talk at conferences all the time, and I ask people, who here has built something in Salesforce that the end users don't use? And the answer, everyone puts their hand up. So the business analysis is about making sure that we are building exactly what the end users want, not what they thought they needed. what they actually, so you need to go back and go, okay, I understand you said you wanted a pick list value, but what are you trying to achieve? Because maybe it isn't a new pick list value. Maybe it's a new record type. If you want a new record type, surely you need reporting, or how's that going to appear on a screen? So you need to be able to push back on your business users when they go, just build me this. Just is the worst word in the Salesforce ecosystem. Just. Of course, I can just add a pick list value. Of course, I can just add another field. But you need to be able to push back and go, by asking the questions why. Why do you really need that? And then when you build it, then let's document it so that we know if we have to go back and change it, we understand how to go and make those changes. And these are all, whether you're 20 years in Salesforce or 20 days into Salesforce, these sorts of disciplines that are ones that you need to build good habits, because that will make you a way better admin, a way better developer, a way better business analyst, and ultimately way more valuable in the ecosystem. There are lots and lots of people who are now arriving with certs, but they have a certification. They don't have the skills to be a more rounded admin. And I think they're the sorts of skills that we all need to build. There's a concept called shift left. I mean, it's not a very difficult concept, but what it means is that the earlier you find problems in the development life cycle, the cheaper they are to fix. Okay. If you were to spot that a flow that you're about to change is already being used by, is calling two other flows, if we can find it in analysis, it's way cheaper to find it than finding it in production. And then you're running around with your hair on fire, if you have any hair, your hair on fire, trying to work out how to go and fix that flow, roll it back, then try and debug it, and then roll it forward again. Not only does it waste a lot of your time and it's very stressful, but you're wasting the business users' time. But even worse than that, you're losing the trust of your business users. Because they go, well, hang on, it can't be that hard. I've watched a video on YouTube. It can't be that hard to build a flow. And they don't understand the implications of what's happening behind the scenes. Yes, it's easy to change a flow, but actually you have to do it properly. They just see the end result. If you keep making changes and breaking things, eventually the business your business users will go, tell you what, I'll stand up my own org and do it. You lose the trust of the business users. You lose their engagement. And then you've got an uphill task. So more important than just the cost and the time wasted for you, it's actually the time wasted for them, and actually you're losing that engagement. Okay. So I've gone through what I think are some quite fundamental principles, which is make sure you understand what your business users really need, not what they thought they wanted, number one. Number two, the earlier you can identify problems, then the cheaper they are to fix. And the third thing is you need to start tracking the changes you're making and then documenting them as to why you made them, not just what you made. And one way to do that is actually central to all this is a metadata dictionary, a dictionary of all of the metadata in your org, but also the connections. And the really cool thing is that Salesforce has created a metadata API. So it's possible to pull all the metadata out of Salesforce and put it into a dictionary. Once you've got that metadata, you can do some really interesting things with it. You can start analyzing it and saying, okay, where are things used? You can start linking that metadata dictionary, not just to things you type in, but existing documentation you've got. You can link it to training material. So this becomes almost the hub. So Salesforce is the application, but this is sort of the documentation. And from the picture you can see here, we're using some APIs to build this metadata dictionary, but then you can link other documentation to it, and then you can display it to, display it to the platform owner, the architect, the business analyst. The developers can have access to it. The end users can have access to it. So you're starting to be able to use this as a way of collaborating around change. Let me pause there for a moment for any questions. Yeah. By all means, jump in the question. I'll start to show you what this looks like in practice. Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I just had one question. Maybe I think you're going to cover that maybe in future slide or whatever. But like when you say you got all the metadata, so how are we representing that with respect to all the apps? Do you have like visual presentation or like how this metadata is connected with each other?
let me show you how that works. What I'm now going to do is I'm going to show you a product called Elements.cloud. It happens to be our product. But think of it as showing you what is possible with those APIs. Okay.
Okay.
And sort of quick spoiler alert: we've got a development team of 25. So if someone goes, "Oh, well, I'm a developer. I'm sure I could build one of those on my own," by all means, have a go at it. But we've been at this 4 years, so there's like 100 man years of effort in terms of what you're about to see. Right. So first of all, of course, I need to log in again. Sorry, because I logged out. Right. So our application actually has a whole bunch of things. You can map processes, draw architecture diagrams, track all your user requirements, and so on. But what I want to talk about is actually this metadata dictionary, which we call a Salesforce org. And you can see I've got multiple ones because I've got a metadata dictionary for production and then all our sandboxes. Okay. So again, if you're not using sandboxes, stop. You should be using sandboxes. We shouldn't be developing things straight into production. So if I look at one of those metadata dictionaries, hopefully I can just. Let me just refresh all these pages. So it's because we logged in. Right. Salesforce orgs. Right. So let's go back. Okay. So let's let's go and open up a metadata dictionary. Sorry, all those beautifully prepared windows I had open. Of course, I need to log back in again. There we go. Right. So here is a metadata dictionary. Okay. So you asked about the representation of it. Here you can see what's in our org. This happens to be our own production org. This is, you're looking at how Elements runs Elements. And you can see we've got a ton of Apex classes, I know, platform events, 19 managed packages. And on the left-hand side, these are the high-level things. So if I open that up, there are the Apex classes. And I click on any item, the right-hand panel will tell me about this particular Apex class. So this is all being pulled from the metadata API. So we know this has got 100% code coverage. It's API version 37. So think of this as a way of sort of an add-on to what you can see in setup. In fact, if I click there, it will launch Salesforce in setup. Would it? Hang on, I need to log in again. So I'm about to log into Salesforce setup. And there is, you'll recognize setup, but there's that right panel from Elements dropped into setup. So you don't have to use our product. You can actually see all of the information that I was seeing inside Elements inside your setup page. Right. So let's just go back. So that's Apex classes, and you can see this right-hand panel has got, information. It has, this is our way of, this is essentially the to-do list of cleanup. This one is to be deleted, and you can see the history and the discussions about it. Where is this Apex class used? What documentation? Is it linked to requirements and changes? Show me the change log. So let me go to something more interesting. So now before I do that, so you see, you're starting to see the structure. This is all of the metadata inside your org. What we can also do here is there is a high-level report to give you just an overall sense of what your org looks like. So this is how big it is, and I can see that we've added 6 new Apex classes since the last synchronization. So this is synchronizing every night.
Oh, okay. That's what my question was. So how often do you sync? Like every day, once a
every
day?
Night. Every night, and we'll send you an email about what changed overnight.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
So to give you an idea of some numbers, we have synchronized about 15 billion metadata items to date. Okay, because we've got all these clients that we're synchronizing their orgs. And you can see some trends. So let's just have a look at trends over the last year. I'm starting to see, look, this is how our permission sets have climbed. This is number of Apex classes. So clearly something happened then where we did a big jump. Maybe we installed a managed package with a bunch of Apex classes. How dashboards have climbed. So you're getting a sense of, okay, we obviously had a big purge and cleaned out a bunch of reports. Okay, so you're starting to get a sense of how your org is performing. This is a really telling one. How many description fields are completed? You know, inside Salesforce, you add a field, you add an object, you can add a description. You can't add them everywhere, but this is giving you a sense about how well documented your org is. How well populated are the fields that you've added? You've added all those custom fields, but have they got any data in them? So in the standard account, obviously standard objects where there are lots of fields you probably don't use. But if you start looking at custom objects, if you added a custom object, you'd hope that pretty much every one of those custom fields is being used. So this is giving you a sense of, have we got, if we're hitting our number of limits, 500 fields on an object, is there any data in them? And then the second thing is how well used. So this is not, is there data, but we're combining, is there data, but also are these fields used anywhere? So this is a level of how important are those fields. Just because a field is empty, you shouldn't delete it necessarily. There are 8 reasons why you should never delete. There are 8 situations where if a field has got no data, you still shouldn't delete it. So you can't blindly go, oh, there's no data, I'll just go and delete it. You need to be a bit more careful about it. May be a field which is only used at the end of the financial year. That's why it's empty, and it gets cleared out after the financial. The worst thing in the world is you delete it. You come to do the end of year financial work because it's linking to, say, your financial systems, and then that field is deleted, and you've no idea why it was there. The integration is now broken. Nobody knows why. Okay.
So one question here. So does it only pull the metadata or data as well?
Okay. So because we're running on top of AWS, this is not a managed package. Because if we did all this analysis on your org, we would break all the Apex limits. So we pull all the metadata into our database to do the analysis. We don't pull your customer data, your data, customer data. We have a little managed package which will just look at an object and a field and go, is it populated? It'll look at a pick list value and say, is it populated? We've no idea what the data is. We're just pinging it to go, is there data in there or not?
Okay.
So absolutely, we're not pulling any customer data off the Salesforce platform. And we're we need to be very careful from a security perspective to make sure that we can't see customer data. We can just see if a field is populated. But great question. Okay.
Thank you.
So if I go back to our data model, what I call our metadata dictionary, let's just go down to some things which are a bit more interesting. Let's go down to an object. And obviously there are all of our custom objects. So you'll notice here there's a status called deleted, unchanged. Just because you've deleted an object doesn't mean we delete everything that's in the metadata dictionary. You may have a lot of documentation, so we don't delete that. It's deleted in Salesforce, but it's still sitting here. A bit further down, we might find one that's blue, which is proposed. So here you can start adding. Can't find any here. You might we'll find some examples where it's blue, where someone is proposing we're going to go and create an object. The problem is you can't document it until it's created. Here you can start creating it in the metadata dictionary. You can start adding the documentation, the business analysis documentation, and then when it exists in Salesforce, we'll connect it. Okay. So let's go back. Let's go down and find a standard object, one I love. Let's go and find opportunity. I'm scrolling down, but I could equally well just click search up there. But if I go to, say, opportunity, so now here's the opportunity object. I can see a summary of the object. I know how many approval processes, how many list views, how many validation rules, record count. I know how many records by record type. Okay, how many times do you go, we got 27 record types, I wonder if I can get rid of them. Okay. Standard comment, record types like glitter. Once you've got rid of them, they're very hard to get rid of. So I can see that. I can also see for all the fields, how many of those are important, how many are not important. So if I then go over here, I can see field population. So I can look at every single field and see how much data is in it. So some of you may have heard of field trip. Think of this as field trip for every single object. every single day, done automatically. So I know that there's some fields here. Maybe they are important, maybe they aren't. Like deal renewals only used a little bit of the time, but that sounds like quite an important field. But at least I'm getting a sense of how well used that particular object is. And then I can also go down and it tells me where this object's used. This object is used in 2 Apex classes. Used in 3. It's used in 71 flows. If I roll over a flow, it tells me in the right-hand panel there. It's referenced to this one. This flow references this object twice. So the question you asked was, show me. We've got the basic metadata dictionary. We pulled all the metadata, but then our application is then looking for those relationships. Okay, tell me where it's looking for everywhere this object is used, everywhere this field is used, everywhere this picklist is used in other places.
Right.
So the amount of time that's now saved by going, if I'm about to go and change this particular flow, or I'm about to change this object, which flows are impacted? Okay. I could also, there's documentation. Okay, here are the notes associated with this particular object. So we're starting to document it, either as a documentation there, or a link, URL link, or a process diagram. So we've mapped a process diagram inside elements, and we've linked it back to this object. So this metadata dictionary is not just what we can build for you automatically, but then it's what you can then start attaching. If you've taken a screenshot of a whiteboard, attach it. If you've got a specification, attach it. Write some notes. I think even actually, if I go up here, I know an object doesn't have any help. An object doesn't have a description field, but if there is a description field in Salesforce, you can populate it here. And don't worry about it. This is if you've started to use our user stories and change requests inside Elements, you can link those as well. So I can start to see the history of all the change requests and why we changed it. So this is becoming the history about what's happened to this, or why we didn't do it. In this case, a description. They wanted to do this. We're not. The business analyst team did the analysis and said we're not changing that. Okay. Let me just go down.
Yep. Sorry. Like, do you do the security scan of the code, like Apex classes, Visualforce pages?
There are other products do a really good job of that, like Code Scan is an example. So no, we're not doing. We're building the documentation. What we will do is we will connect to other things. We'll connect to like a DevOps center or a gear set for DevOps. We'll connect to external systems and pull that data in. So if somebody's doing a really, really good job of something, let's not duplicate that. Let's connect to it. So a very good example is there's something called event monitoring, which is an add-on that you can buy for Salesforce. It's a shield and event monitoring. What that does is it's starting to build up a log of every single page that anyone's gone to, every flow, when they've been run, and by whom. Okay. So if a customer's got event monitoring connected, we will pull that, and it'll then show you not just where this thing is used, but who used it and how frequently. So there's a good example of us. There's no point in us building that. Let's connect to existing data that's out there. So our whole world is an aggregator. Let's aggregate all the information in one place here, so you don't have to go to 7 different applications and 5 different spreadsheets to try and work it out. It's all in one place. Okay. Let me just go down a little bit further. Let's go down to, say, a field. These are all the fields. You can see how important the field is there on the right-hand side in green. I want to go down to stage, because stage is on an opportunity is always the big field. So there's the stage field, and it has 10 active pick list values. It's used in 279 places. So first of all, how well populated is this field by record type? Looks like every single record type, this field is filled out. but it said it had 10 active pick list values. So I can see how much those pick list values are filled out. So again, if you've got hundreds of pick list values, they're very difficult to get rid of because you're frightened that they're being used somewhere and you've no idea where, and it would take you forever to find out. Well, we'll tell you. This is the pick list values, which ones are being used. But more interestingly, we're also now telling you everywhere this field is used. It's used in, 31 flows. It's used in external systems, Gainsight. It's used in, oh no, that's an internal, so that's a managed package. It's used in 8 process builder workflows. So I can open up any one of these, roll over it, and I can start to see not just where it's used. This field is used 6 times. It's in a record lookup, and it's in a decision. So we're really digging into a flow now and telling you how this thing's used. Okay. This is lots of data, and it's like my head's spinning now. There's so much stuff there. What we do is we actually show it to you as a visual. So this field is used in, we said 31 flows. Well, there are the 31 flows. And where's that flow used? Well, where's that flow used? And it's used in a lightning page, which is used in, so you can start to see now, you can really understand exactly where things are being used and the implications of making changes. So why is this important? Number one, we're doing a ton of work that you wouldn't be able to do even manually. But more importantly, when the business user goes, it can't be that difficult, just add another pick list value, suddenly you can show them, look, there's a lot involved in this. I've got to do quite a lot of analysis to make sure I don't break it. Did you realize that actually that field is used in 64 list views? And it's used in a lightning page, which is then used in, and so on. And if I click on any one of these, I don't have to go to setup. If I just click on that one there, convert opportunity, the right-hand panel has now changed. And now I can see for this thing called convert opportunity, where is this thing used? It's used in 9 pages. Okay. Anywhere you see this little Salesforce setup icon, that will open up Salesforce in setup on that page. And then that right panel I was looking at is now visible. So at any point you go, oh, I really need to, I need to see this in Salesforce, click there and it will open up in Salesforce. Let me stop there. I've talked about a lot. Is this making sense, or are people's heads just spinning? Okay. A few people saying, yes, it works. Yes. Good. Okay. So part of this is the ability to understand the implications of making a change before you make it, before you even give it to the development team, before you even start making changes in your sandbox. You can start to go, okay, why is this being used? Let me look at field stage over here. Let me go and look at some documentation. Let me go and look at why this thing's being used. You could even go down further. You could even go down underneath the field stage to a pick list value and understand where a pick list value is being used. So let me just go back. Let's go and open up right down to pick list value, and let's go to the pick list value closed one. And I can see that this pick list value, I can see how it's used by record type, but I can now see that it's used in 5 flows. So if I was about to go and change a pick list value, the implication of making the changes are there. These are the 5. I can see this pick list value is used 3 times in decisions. In this flow, it's used once. In this flow, it's used 7 times. So our own admin said that before we had this bit of functionality, by the way, this launched on Wednesday. Before this functionality, it would have taken him 8 hours to do the analysis before he could make a change. Now it takes him 0 because it's instantly there. This is the sort of changes that you can make if you're starting to leverage the metadata API and start to get this information. Okay. So for those of you not been around the Salesforce world very long, or haven't been around other systems. If you're in SAP or in Oracle, this is the sort of tooling that comes as part of the Oracle platform or part of the SAP platform. It's called Oracle Tools. It's called Solution Manager in SAP. So Salesforce is now becoming a very sophisticated platform, and this is the sort of tooling that should be expected. And we're not the only company. There are 4 or 5 other companies who are starting to do this. But Salesforce is now recognizing that customers need to spend money on some of the tooling on top of buying Salesforce. You need to buy a backup solution. You need to buy a DevOps solution. You need to buy a change intelligence solution, which is us. You need to do something about data quality. You need to do something about data importing. So I think we'll see a change over the next 1, 2, 3, 4 years, where Salesforce is recognizing and coaching their customers that to run Salesforce properly, you'd actually need to buy some of these other tooling. It's like buying a Ferrari and going, actually, I'm never going to do any maintenance. And I found on the internet the way you can make gas by boiling up potatoes for my Ferrari. Like, no, guys, if you bought a Ferrari, make sure you buy the maintenance program and get it serviced by the Ferrari dealer, and make sure you put the right level of gas in it. Okay. And I think there's a little bit of there's a free app, or I've hacked something together. That's fine if it's you've got 5 users somewhere or 10, 20 users. But we've got customers who've got 10,000 users, 40,000 users. And increasingly, you will find yourself in orgs which are more complicated, and getting up to speed on some of these principles, I think will put you in a far stronger position if you are either a new admin or you're joining an admin team. Okay, it's interesting. I bumped into a customer yesterday. NPR, the radio, and the senior admin there. She said, I went and got the job with NPR, but I said I wouldn't take the job unless they bought own backup and elements.cloud, because you can't expect me to manage a system without a proper backup system with a proper way of understanding how stuff works. Now, that's quite a bold move, but it illustrates the point, which is it's very difficult to manage anything unless you've got some sort of tooling. The other thing is, when you walk into if you just get your first job and you walk into a brand new org, you need this level of understanding. So if you do walk into a brand new org, easy thing, come and do a 2-week proof of concept with us. So at least you get this. It doesn't mean you have to buy it, but at least you get a chance to actually go and say, can I run a proof of concept with you? Can I run a trial? Can I at least see what the org I've walked into looks like? Okay. You can play with any of this. There's a link at the end, but we have a playground, so you could connect this, set up an Elements account, connect this to a dev org, not a production org, but a dev org, and you can play with all of this and actually see how it works. So after we finish, if you go to Elements/playground, you can set it all up. So I've shown you that you can start to connect this to stuff inside Salesforce. But for many of you, you will be also connecting to systems that are outside Salesforce. So you should be able to build a metadata dictionary for other applications, for MuleSoft, for Oracle, for NetSuite, for Slack. And we've given you the ability to build that, but it's not nearly as sophisticated as our integration with Salesforce. So if I go to there, if this works. Hang on, I need to go somewhere else. There. So we also have the concept of, these are metadata dictionaries that I've built using our import for MuleSoft, for NetSuite, for Tableau, for Pardot. So we've got some utilities that go and build a metadata dictionary for Pardot. So they are not nearly as sophisticated as the analysis we do for Salesforce itself, but you still have the ability to link to things, the ability to have documentation. So you can start to build diagrams that are not just Salesforce, but you can then connect it and say, okay, this field or this workflow connects to Slack, which then connects to NetSuite, that then goes and does something else. Okay, so you can start to not that. You can start to build those connections out rather than just Pardot. Maybe a step too far for this discussion, but it doesn't have to stop just with Salesforce, because Elements runs on top of AWS. We don't care what you're documenting. We don't care whether it's Pardot, it's NetSuite, it's Oracle, it's ServiceNow. You can start to build out metadata dictionaries for those and add documentation, but then add links between how this touches Salesforce and then where it goes to outside Salesforce. Let me see if I can find an example for you. Right, now this one there. So there's a question there, which is how would we update the metadata for Pardot? So we've built a little Pardot utility, which is there's a very simple import routine for to build one of these metadata dictionaries, and you can run that utility every day, and it will do it. It basically, the utility takes the Pardot data, turns it into an Excel spreadsheet, and then runs the import routine. We are working to make that an open API, so anybody could build their own utilities. So if you're a consultant and you're an expert in ServiceNow, you could build a ServiceNow utility either to win more work or to sell to customers. So we want people to build connectors. So we've built Pardot, Celonis Make, Google Drive, and we're making those patterns available so anybody could copy them and see how we did it. A great question. So you would, that Pardot, you'd run that utility every night or every time you'd made some changes to Pardot, and it would then update the Pardot metadata dictionary. I'll just see if I can find let's not worry about that. So you don't just have to be limited by Salesforce. You can actually draw. You can make it a lot broader than that. Wait. So this diagram here, that could go field stage. It's a flow, but also it could have Slack. It could have Pardot on there. It could have a number of other links on there. And then when you click on it, it then opens up that metadata dictionary. So you're starting to get a broader picture. This is sort of like metadata dictionary advanced versus 101, but the same principle should be true. When you're making changes, maybe you're not synchronizing the whole of your Oracle database. Maybe you're just making the 5 or 6 critical links that you've got from Salesforce to your financial systems to make sure that they don't break. Because it's all very well understanding what's happening inside Salesforce, but there are some critical things that now step outside, and you need to make sure they're connected. You need to make sure someone knows about them. Other questions?
I have a question.
I have a question. So please correct me if I'm wrong, but are you able to hear me?
I think, yeah, I'm just muted myself.
Okay. Yeah, as per my understanding, this is a tool which can integrate to any Salesforce org and act as an organizer to maintain it and to have a healthy org. Is that right?
Absolutely. So you can connect it to any org. You can connect it to a production and your sandboxes, and it will build out this view of it so you can start to maintain a healthy org.
So does it work well with bigger organizations, like for non-profits and all? Do you think, like, according to their size and capacity, this works well with, like, do they really need something like this, or it works like different for different organizations? Like you can maintain it however you want.
That's a great question. So it will work from the smallest orgs to the largest orgs. So There's a question about, do you need it when you're a small org? So let's first of all deal with just the size. And even if, I mean, we're only a 50-person company, okay? We already have a relatively complex set of systems which are difficult to maintain. We've got 2 admins. If you've got 1 admin, at that stage, you still need to try and document. Thank you. So even if you're a small org, relatively quickly, it will start to get complicated. I'll talk about pricing in a moment, because actually that maybe is the limiting factor. So even a small org, fairly quickly, even if you're a non-profit and you've installed the non-profit success packs, instantly you've got quite a complex org. So complexity is not necessarily an indicator, is not based on the number of people using it. The moment you're using Salesforce and customizing it, you need something to start creating it and start documenting it and making sure you're in control. At the top end, we've got massive organizations. So I know 13,000 dashboards. We had one customer the other day, 256 record types on opportunity. Okay, 2,000 custom objects. I mean, some of the scale of these orgs is just huge, and there's no upper limit. We're launching on Wednesday a permission and profile comparator, so you can start to compare and start to clean up your permission sets and profiles. We looked at the functionality there. We're analyzing 12 million items just around permissions and profiles. So it's huge. So I'll just, I know you're going to ask a supplementary question. Let me just think about pricing. If you're a consultant, great news. You get the license is $500 per year, and you can do this for any customer you want. So as a consultant coming in, you can start to help any customer understand their org. If you're a customer, the pricing is 5% of what you spend on Salesforce. So if you're a tiny org and you're only spending, I know, $20,000 a year on Salesforce, I think there's a minimum price of $2,000 or something, but it's 5% of what you spend on Salesforce. So if you've negotiated a great deal with Salesforce, then you've negotiated a great deal with Elements, because it's just 5% of what they spend. And that means that the pricing scales with the size of the organization. I'll stop there because I know.
Thank you, Ian.
Okay. Thank you, Ian. So, hello, can you hear me?
Yep.
Oh, yeah, okay. So we are almost there at our time. So, but it was, if anyone doesn't have any questions, I think we can wrap it up. Are we good?
We'll be getting the recording.
Yes, yeah, actually, I'll be posting this recording on our page. Yeah, but Ian, this was like really good, informative session, and we really appreciate from our like Stanford developer group. And if you have any end notes or end comments about us, please let us know. But it was really good session. Thank you so much for joining. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thank you for everyone coming out on a Saturday morning.
Thank you, Ian.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay. And the people who are not in person, I'm sorry, you guys are gonna miss some swag. But yeah, if you guys show up next time, I'm gonna give it to you. So thank you so much and enjoy your weekend. Bye-bye.